Joker Harley Criminal Sanity issue 1 with Cami Garcia writing, with Mike Mayhew and Miko Suin on art. So, and the art is probably something we're going to be talking about a lot in this, because the art
Yeah.
is...
Do you know which is which in terms of the different sections? Because I'm not sure without looking it up. I don't know if you happen to know.
I knew from, because the variant covers by the one that's in color. So if you look at the variant cover, and see what cover artist does.
Which because there's a Joker variant by Cyan,
I'm going. I don't need to
Mayhew.
explain it. I'm going. It's a waste of time. Where is it? Here we go. Mike Mayhew is the one that's in color.
Okay, that's good to know.
So, yeah, the art is pretty notable in this. Whether or not you like it is probably depending on taste, because the stuff that's in color, Mike Mayhew's art, is extremely lifelike, to the point where you're kind of convinced like some photographs were used for referencing to really nail like...
Yeah, I dislike a lot of it because there are a lot of panels where I can feel the reference image where it feels like it's just there. Okay, this is what we had. It's not quite lining up with how it should.
There's definitely some panels like that. There's one early on, the first color scene, because the color scenes are all flashbacks, because it's this kind of, it's this all very out of continuity thing where Harley is helping the police hunt serial killers.
She's an FBI profiler, essentially.
Yeah. She's helping Gordon hunt serial killers, and Joker is a serial killer, and she's investigating, and all that stuff's in black and white. That's the other art, which typically looks very good, I think.
Yeah, I really like the black and white.
It's really pretty stuff. And then you get to the color stuff, which is the flashbacks, and we find out that Harley's wife was killed, and she's called Edie, but she looks like Poison Ivy when we see the body. Like, they're definitely playing with like our expectations. So, but she comes back and she's in like her hospital scrubs or whatever. And the panel, she's eating like Chinese food out of the red carton, and it's the one where she's like sort of holding it up and she's looking off to the side. And I'm not gonna lie, it looks like someone's like traced that from a porn scene.
No, here's the thing: if you zoom in, you can see like the shadow line on the neck, and it's like, okay, this is where the cutoff was, where we were tracing, and the rest of it's the person underneath. And then the hands are really weird as well. Like, I don't know what it is. There's this weird disconnect where around some of the fingers there's like a black outline. Others it just kind of vanishes, and it gives this weird impression where the people do not meld with the backgrounds whatsoever, because the backgrounds feel very traditionally drawn, like but then the people just look like these traced images that are super realistic. And it just doesn't quite fit in together. There's like this jarring mesh between them.
Joe is so weird though, is that there's definitely like panels where it works better than it does others, because there's panels where it's wider, so maybe there was nothing to trace, so it's more a consistent style. It looks better. I think the last panel on that first flashback page, that 2-page layout, where it's just a sort of the scream, kind of like, gasping, because it's a close up and because there's no background, it actually looks quite good, because it's just that on its own.
Yeah, when you take it on its own, there's nothing for it to distract against. It looks all right. Yeah.
I like. Do you know what it reminds me of in a weird way? It reminds me of how they used to do some video games, like the old Mortal Kombat games, where they'd have actors and put it into the game. It's giving me that kind of vibe. And in that sense, it's kind of working in some panels in this weird way. But there's definitely other ones where it just looks...
I think there's too many panels where I just find it distracting.
My problem is not the contrast with the backgrounds. I know you don't like that. I actually don't necessarily care about that if that's going to be a consistent style with it, and if it's going to be just the feeling that it has. My problem is that sometimes the expressions just feel like they don't really match what's supposed to be going on during the panel. And I'm thinking of that one where she's eating the Chinese food and looking over to the side. Not the one where she's actually got a little bit sticking out of her mouth. I actually think that one looks good. That one looks like... Yeah, she's middle of eating Chinese food, and she's just kind of looking over. But the one at the bottom before that, where her mouth's kind of open, she's looking over to the side, it looks like obscenely erotic for some reason, and there's like no reason for it.
Do you know what's annoying as well? I think if this was the whole book, I would maybe get used to it. I don't know. The fact that we have it contrasted with the black and white, not super realistic at all. This lovely pencil grayscale stuff. It feels so jarring whenever we cut between them.
Yeah, So the actual plot of this, Harley's hunting a serial killer. The Joker, who's kind of a myth at this point. There is a Batman. There's evidence of a Batman in one of the flashbacks, so we know that Batman exists. But because I wasn't sure if he was going to. Honestly, the way this book sets it all up, it just kind of feels like no, we're in a world where Joker's a serial killer.
It does feel like no Batman for most of the book.
Yeah. And she goes investigating and looking into things. She wants to find this because the Joker killed her wife, and she has this rivalry with one of the cops who's pissed that she's always solving cases because she's better at it than they are. So she has this kind of fight back from him. But we find out about the first victim, this Mick Kelly, and he had a son who I think is the obvious candidate to be the Joker right now, just based on kind of what the story is. He's this awful father who beats up his son a lot, and then he turns out to be the first victim. It kind of sounds like it might turn out to be this kid, Kelly kid, who turns out to be Joker. But she goes to this bartender to ask about him, and again we get flashbacks, and again some of the faces work and some of them really don't in this flashback art.
Yeah.
But it sets this kind of thing up. It's definitely doing that criminal investigation thing as opposed to what we typically do with these types of stories. And it is very moody. I think I like the mood a lot.
Yeah, I agree with that.
There's another body pops up at Arkham. Sorry, it's Gotham Cemetery. Sorry, I saw the gate there and my mind went straight to Arkham. And the body's laid out like the Da Vinci pose, with the circle.
The Vitruvian Man.
Thank you.
Yes, and you have one of the cops being a uneducated swine, thinking it's just some cult ritual pose, and Harley's there no, this is very clear what this is.
Yeah, it's the one who's got a rivalry with her. He hates her guts, Maddox. He's ready to just jump down her throat. And we also see that she's giving lectures at the local college. She's talking about how not all serial killers are necessarily psychopaths. It's almost feeding into what we were talking about in the Year of the Villain one shot. This idea that some of them are actually very aware of what they're doing and they're not because the definition of being insane or being psychotic. Sure, she's saying they're depraved, but being psychotic usually means that you're substituting reality for something else. You believe something, and despite what's actually in front of you, and that's not necessarily true. And she actually goes through a lot of real serial killers. She talks about Ed Gein. She talks about Ted Bundy. She talks about all these different serial killers. The killer clown. And
I thought this is interesting, because we watched Mindhunter not so long ago.
This is very Mindhunter.
It was. And we were like, okay, do they still use some of these words? Because they in Mindhunter, the categorize them into organized and disorganized.
Yeah.
And there was a bit where they started feeling like they were moving away from that, and we were like, oh, did they stop using that at some point? And then I guess maybe not, because it's being used here quite regularly.
I can tell you from the amount of murder stuff my wife watches, they still use stuff like that.
Yeah.
So.
And I really liked this part of it. I really liked her bringing up real... I think this reimagining of the Joker is just a straight up kind of serial killer. And
Yeah.
I don't know what they're going to do here, because this is 9 issues long or something like that. I don't know what they're going to do here. Are they going to actually also do an origin thing like Harleen, where she's going to become Harley Quinn? Or is this just a straight, no, this is who she is in this world, and she's hunting the Joker?
I don't know, and I'm kind of okay if it is just this here. I might even prefer it, because Harleen is setting up to be the definitive origin, right? I think even if this does turn out to be some weird alternate origin, it does kind of work because it is so dark. Because it's not because Harleen, even though it's set in its own little bubble, is still very much, like I said when we talked about it, what you could slot in as kind of your origin of Harley Quinn that feeds into whatever continuity you want. Yeah.
This is such a separate world doing separate things.
This is clearly never Harley Quinn as we see her in the DC universe.
Yeah, will she go crazy by the end and kind of adopt a look of Harley Quinn to fight the Joker or something? Yeah, I could see that or something, but...
Or to lure him out and it backfires on her.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, they're finding body. Honestly, I like this book a lot, and I think I liked it because it was such a different thing. I can't believe I'm saying I like a second Harley Quinn book, but it's not Harley Quinn, not in the way that we think of her.
No, this is... I mean, we spoke about with Harleen that it was very different to what we expect from a Harley book, but this is even further off, that it's borderline not Harley Quinn, right? Yeah, you could have slotted in different characters to this and just changed the names, and as of this issue anyway, it would work.
It's the true idea of an Elseworld where it just completely changes like how things work and what it's so. I really like the mood. I really like the tone. Obviously, the flashbacks, which are definitely the lesser part of the book, because there's not as many of those pages as there are the black and white stuff. Are very hit and miss.
There's like one page from the flashback stuff that I really love. It's one of the double page spreads. It's actually only one side of it though. When the car goes underwater, on the left you have like the close-ups, the faces trying to breathe, the bubbles coming out, and it's got a really nice layout to it. It's not in this just neat box. I think that's a really nice panel. Yeah,
and I will say the next issue page after which I will say my one complaint about the book, maybe outside of like thinking some of the art that feels off, is the ending feels oddly anticlimactic. It just kind of ends.
Yeah, I turned the page and went, wait, was that the end? I went back to read the last couple of panels again.
Just to see, like, that didn't really feel that climactic. But I will say the tease of the Joker on this like next time page and what he looks like in this world. He looks like a vicious serial killer. He looks demented, and I'm actually kind of excited for that because I like a scary Joker. I always have. No, I actually like this a lot. It's not as good as Harleen, but I mean that bar was so high that like I can't really fault it. No, I was quite into this. I'm actually looking forward to reading more. Honestly, Black Label putting out good books is both good and bad. So thank you for that, DC, you pricks.
It makes it feel like, no, we actually want to check these out now because they can be quite good.
Well, I'm not going to say this for this time, but when Harleen came out, it was the best book of that week by a mile. So
it wasn't even close.
I think it'd be foolish not to read these Black Label books, or at least try them. When issue one's drop. So,
but then it's like, oh my god, so many more books all of a sudden.
Hey, it means
that's why I didn't get to it.
It means when Steve Orlando's on Wonder Woman, it's an easier drop because there's other more important books to read.
Yeah.
Who says we have to always focus on the continuity stuff? Like sometimes the other stuff's going to be better.
It's true,
and that's just the way it is. But I quite liked it. I dare say, loved it. Actually.
Okay.
Borderline. It's getting there. I want to see where it goes before I really commit to that, but. But if I'm rating it, I'll even go first. I'll give it an 8.5.
I'm gonna give it a 7.5. Mostly for the art in the other section that I'm knocking it down. To be honest, it's not even bad. It's just distracting to me, and that kind of ruins the flow for me.
I kind of liked the aesthetic of it. I just think some of the expressions were clearly not quite right for the panels. And it was especially the women, because there was a couple of panels where it looked like they traced it from a porn star, and that is really distracting.
Yeah, it really did. And as I say, it's not terrible. I like the tone of it, but it was bugging me.
But hey, so there you go. That's Joker, Harley, Criminal Sanity. So we'll dive into more of that as it goes. Because I think we're both going back for it, right? Like we both seem to like this.
Unless the week that it's on is terrifyingly busy. Yeah, I'm here.